estaban pasando el gran congreso del 2020. Ahora, aquí estoy en el centro del estado de Nueva York y los invito a conocer, que es para mí una gran libertad. Y hoy les platico sobre mi tema y te voy a decir mi gran título de esta plática. This talk is entitled The Freedom of Oral Tradition in Honor of Harriet Tubman, the ex-slave. And she really is like the Virgen de Guadalupe for our culture, our very multicultural culture here. So I have a disclaimer or a confession to make. I've been enslaved by my son in an overperforming and elitist suburb where soccer is much more important than religion. Hoy que voy a ser pobre de mí. So for me, I'm a little bit trapped and stuck, and there is a little lack of freedom, so I need to escape. And if we looked at a scale of what is freedom and what is enslavement, it's somewhere in the middle there that I'd like to experience true freedom. And I did for a while when I came upon the history of Harriet Tubman, not too far from here, less than an hour away from Syracuse, New York. And before I tell you more about that experience, I can vouch that all roads have led to Mexico in my life. And as a teenager, I was very much impacted as I was adopted by Oaxacans en el Istmo de Tehuantepec. Ahí estuve yo estudiando en el Cobau, que es el colegio de bachilleratos ahí cerca de Juchitán, Oaxaca. And it's thanks to them, los oaxaqueños, and their hospitality and for their patience while I butchered Spanish, and now I'm able to teach Spanish, and I like to teach English just as much. And then I went off on a different branch, which is speech and language pathology, which is much like a linguist who performs in the medical field for people who are either developing their language or need to restore their language. And what else are we doing today? Today, we are getting aboard a train of the Underground Railroad. We want to honor the contributions of Harriet Tubman and trace her life, paying respect. And she was born almost 100 years ago, and lived to be almost 100, and she died around 1913. So all of her family were born slaves. And just imagine, she did so many things in her life without the ability to be completely literate. She did not just get in and have vacations as we know them in these, right here, my neighbor's backyard, in their mobile home. She made about 20 trips all the way up to Canada to free more slaves. It's calculated about 70 slaves. And she also worked with the military in order to free some slaves for the Yankees. At one time, her life was valued at $40,000, and she was wanted dead or alive. She served as a spy for the Union, and now, knowing that everybody knew she was illiterate, so she disguised herself pretending to read the newspaper. What a genius. Very crafty woman. Let's see. So I came and I met a relative of Harriet Tubman's as I explored the city, and I came across a young man who told me information about her that's very well known, that she was she lived very well later on, or she constructed a very beautiful life for herself, living on 30-some acres that you can visit today. And she's a truly a person of greatness, because in my definition of greatness is not only do you do something to improve yourselves, but you improve the lives of others. That is right next in line. And you start by, how do you do that? You start by demanding justice for yourself and for others. And as an example, I find it interesting that ex-slaves earned the right to vote before women, but she didn't stop there. She wanted women to be able to vote too, and that history in central New York, that is yet another great topic here of the historical tourism. So, la próxima vez que ustedes vienen al estado de Nueva York, a la gran ciudad de Nueva York, que pasean por aquí, ¿no? Para conocer todo lo bonito de aquí, como lo había hecho yo en el Istmo. Yo se lo recomiendo mucho. La gente del Istmo, ay, no hubiera sido igual. El Istmo de Tehuantepec es bonito, pero es aún más bonito la gente de ahí. Se lo juro, ¿eh? Se lo juro que sí. All right, so it was the abolitionists who created the turning point to finally free the slaves. And the worst point of the fight was during the Fugitive Slave Act, which ran from 1850 to 1862, the start of the Civil War. Officially, let's see. And okay, that's a lot of facts there. And my idea here is that you make your own vocabulary. A thematic approach there is a good way for vocabulary acquisition. And guess what? Yes, I know it's backwards. And as a speech language pathologist, I'm just pointing out, guess what? It looks backwards to a lot of people who lose their language through an accident or through a stroke, for example, too. What they go through there, they do have to learn to reread. So you will be selected to appear on the American Dollar. You think you would be? Well, I doubt it. No, that is none. It's not you. It's none other than Harriet Tubman. So my goals are, the stations along are for you to challenge yourself in that line that runs from slavery to freedom. And what does that mean today in our lives? Well, take for example, all lives can matter. When we put each other up, when we pull each other up, pull us all up and along in the freedom and justice for all. Okay, yo les recomiendo que se concentren en las estrellas, por ejemplo, y que se acuerdan de la vida de Harriet Tubman, who followed the stars. And they were probably as significant as literature for her. And that's the way she was very self-instructed. And it's almost as if, I'd like for you to think of her almost as La Virgen de Guadalupe for our culture here in the United States. And don't forget that in the form of human trafficking, enslavement does exist, and warehousing families near the Mexico and U.S. border in prisons is really one of the ugly things of our times. So that slavery does exist in that respect. And so maybe remember, every time that you are able to see Harriet Tubman, a picture of her on an American dollar bill, a $20 bill, remember her as the Virgen de Guadalupe and what that means for watching out for us during the ups and downs of our cultural battles, for freedom, really, for justice for all. All right, so thank you so much for listening to me today. Ha sido un gran placer y los quiero conocer a todos y los quiero mucho. Chao, chao.